Everyone's in the right box!
Woo!
Yay! Hello, everybody,
Lou.
and welcome to MangaPod. We are a weekly podcast in which we all get together after we read all or part of a manga, and then we discuss it with friendship, love, and lots of spoilers. I am Erin of HappiLeeErin, and with me are two of my three lovely co-hosts, as well as a very special guest. Once again, as a reminder, Yokurama is still on hiatus with family stuff, and we send him all of the love and hugs and stuff like that. So let's go full circle, starting with Dodger. Introduce yourself, please.
Hi guys, I'm Dodger. I was going to be in the new office. I have a new office that I work out of now. But it turns out that it took a lot longer to read Molester Man than I expected. So I really just didn't have time to leave. I was like, I gotta go ham on this manga. So yeah, I'm using my little headset, and hopefully it doesn't sound like poopadoops. But
That's a technical term.
The
Yeah.
poopadoops.
That
hopefully
is
we
what
ain't
IT
in
would
poopadoop
diagnose it with.
territory.
I liked your double wink.
Okay, I guess it's my turn. My name's Lou from Sitting by the Window Anime Reviews, and my internet doesn't like me, so if I die, that's probably why. It's kind of like that new movie, was it Unfriend or whatever?
Unfriended.
that's exactly-
Unfriended.
Oh man, we get to live it? That's exciting.
Oh, I don't want to
We're
live
in
that
it
movie.
right now?
Hardcore.
I don't want to live that movie.
Me neither.
Yeah, and so I think that I'm the final person. My name's Holden. I'm from HoldenReviews. It's a YouTube channel where I used to do anime reviews, and I still do once every blue moon. Something fun you can try is type in Holden.reviews in your URL. It'll take you to the channel. I bought .reviews. So have fun with it, because there's a good $30 I spent for that.
What?
Wait.
Amazing.
You bought just Holden.reviews?
So if you type in Holden.reviews in any URL in the world, it'll take you to my channel.
Oh my god, that's
Oh,
amazing.
wow.
Yeah. Because they released a bunch of just .orgs and stuff, and so I just bought .reviews. Good
Oh my-
$30,
That's-
so I'll take it.
You are quite the businessman, Holden.
Live for
I know
days.
it.
All my URLs. Well, thank you so much for being here with us. We're so excited
Anytime.
to have you. If you've
Yes.
never joined us for a MangaPod before, what we like to do is give you a short spoiler-free description of the manga that we read, aka a summary, and then give you our spoiler-free recommendations, whether we believe you should spend time going to read this manga or not. This week, we read the amazingly titled Molester Man, chapters 1 through 21.5, which is the entirety of the series. It's so good. So, let's go ahead and have Holden, our lovely guest, read our description for us.
So, Chikan Otoko, as it's known in Weeb language, based off the real story that was posted on 2chan, Molester Man is the story of how the Molester Man was mistaken for a stalker by misunderstanding, and how they overcome their personal challenges while slowly growing and closer to one another.
The puns.
Yes, misunderstanding is a woman, not a
Miss.
verb in this case. Or as they refer to it later on, Miss Undie.
Miss Undie.
Yep.
It's man, the nicknames really got to me because over time you would stop remembering that they're nicknames.
Dude, yeah,
Yes.
Lolly. It was just
Yeah.
like, she's Lolly.
I just
Yes, Lolly
literally
Boots.
everybody, even his parents, calling him molester, like killed me.
That was really, yeah. There's always those weird moments where his coworkers would be like, "Hey, Molester, how you doing?" Like, and it was just like, wow, this is a very open workplace.
Or like his dad being like, "Molester, you think you can't visit the family for a long time?"
Yeah.
It's like, "Oh, daddy."
All right.
How did you know, father?
Awesome. Let's give our spoiler-free recommendations, whether we believe everybody in the chat, if they have not read the manga, should go and read this or not. Anybody want to go first?
I want to go first. If you like shit that's good, go read it. Done.
There it is.
It's short and sweet. I like it. I would concur. I would concur with that, especially if you have read Masturbation Master. You definitely need to make sure to check out this one. But also, Densha Otoko. If you've read Densha
Yeah.
Otoko, you need to check out this one as well. It's kind of like a different take on that. Just a little bit more raunchy in certain aspects, but still just as great of a love story. Yeah, and I think it's really sweet, and it's definitely a story that you go into it not realizing how heartwarming it will be in a lot of aspects, and also how hilarious it's going to be. And so if you like to laugh and have your heart warmed, you need to check out Molester, man. That's my
Yeah,
Sure.
it was like Densha Otoko meets Welcome to the NHK. It was like super weird in some ways. It took me a little bit to get into it, and I think that I'm in the minority there. But yeah, I wound up really enjoying it, and there's a quality that it has because it's based off of real events, or like a real story that was told in the forums. Like there are so many things that happen in it where you're like, man, that's way more realistic than I was expecting, but it's because it's like based off of like real things that happened. So yeah, I would definitely recommend it. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and so I guess I will be awarding the fourth recommendation, as it is one of the spiritual successors to one of my favorite mangas of all time, which is Onani Master Kurosawa, or Masturbation Master Kurosawa. If I had to send you guys an alternate recommendations that haven't been mentioned thus far, I would send you in the direction of Aku no Hana, The Flowers of Destruction, or in the direction of Solanin. Both are very amazing, and of course, Welcome to the NHK, the manga is also very good, but especially Aku no Hana and Solanin have a very similar feel to this, although not necessarily as upbeat or funny. I believe that at their finest, they evoke very similar reactions from the reader, something that's very rare to find in this medium. So I think they're very worth checking out, to say the least.
Awesome. Yes, so there you go. We all recommend that you go and check out this manga, and it's one that you do not want to be spoiled on. So if you do care about spoilers, then now is the time to take your leave, and you can go read all 21.5 chapters of this, and then come back and watch the VOD of this podcast on my channel, youtube.com/HappiLeeErin, where all of the previous manga pods are hosted. It goes up pretty much immediately after we are done, so you don't gotta like wait or anything. It's really nice. Wow.
So convenient.
Pretty good.
So let's jump into spoilers. Oh, and really quick warning to everybody in chat, both in YouTube and on Twitch. We are very, very intolerant of spoilers here. Though I guess with this one, it's not that big of a deal, now that I'm speaking about it. Because we read all of it.
We read all of it.
So you can't
Yes,
spoil us
very
on
true.
anything.
There's nothing that we
So
don't
just
know.
so you know, we're hard asses on
In
spoilers.
the future,
future.
if you happen to be at another manga pod,
Which you
You walk
should.
through my neighborhood and I
Because-
see you, it's going down.
What
Yeah.
happened? Rotten bacon butts.
front slaps and back slaps.
Rotten bacon butts. That's all you need to know, okay? All right, let's go into
We will
spoilers.
roast your ass if you spoil the non-existent sequel.
5,
I could
4,
only.
3, 2, 1.
It's
Sachiko
so
is God.
fucking good.
Sachiko is God. Sachiko is God. That's the best option.
And
It's-
it's so fucking good. I agree with
it's
both
so
of those
amazing.
being God.
So to kind of divulge, since I remember Erin first invited me to be on MangaPod. This is my first time. Took me 90 episodes to get here, but here I am. But I was invited much earlier to be a part of a discussion for Onani Master Kurosawa, or Masturbation Master Kurosawa, as I went on record saying it's pretty much my favorite manga ever, and by like leaps and bounds. The reason for that is that I feel like at its core, it's something unbelievably human, and it's not afraid of admitting this fact. And I'm not afraid of admitting that there's so many like similarities and parallels that I draw with both of these series. But I find it coincidentally very appropriate that I read both series at the respective ages of the main protagonists in both, adding even more to the immersion of it. So just some little background information I think is really important to note about this. Like Dodger mentioned, it is based off of a 2chan thread back in 2004. But something that's really interesting about it is that the manga itself was never published. Yoko, who was the artist behind this one, who eventually used this fame to skyrocket him to make stuff like Masturbation Kurosawa, this was never published in any kind of physical medium. So actually the digital copies are the only ones that exist. And there was never a profit made from this. It was made merely for the love of doing it. And I think that's something very unique and special about this series, is that you can definitely see it too, that the artist had no intention of trying to make sales or anything. That's why I love how, all the references and stuff. Like they're clearly probably breaking some copyright laws with some of the references.
But who cares? We ain't selling it.
Right? So it's like we can make this as bootleg as we want. And I feel like that's such a very interesting aspect. And I think that's something that we can all kind of chime in on with this is the setting of 2004, what that meant for us. it felt really interesting coming back and just being like, see Destiny's on TV, School Rumble. The idea of the Air movie just came out. It was so weird just kind of seeing like all of that. But the best part, of course, is the OTL emoji, which is a man in despair. You see it a lot. If you don't understand what I'm saying, try typing in OTL. It's supposed to be a man on just on all fours in despair, which you see it so much in
Gloom
this.
lines everywhere.
Yes. Yeah, you see that like he does that so often.
Yeah.
In this too.
Oh my god, like the part where he literally flips into it. I was fucking losing it. I thought it was so funny.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yes.
It's such an interesting pop culture dissection because I mean there was definitely points wherever I had to Google the show, which is Bakurako, like all
yeah.
the
Yeah.
because there were so many niche references, but then they would keep bringing up. My favorite by far is Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan.
Yes.
Michael
oh
Jordan!
my god.
Was
Michael
so
Jordan was
good.
the best.
Jodan means joke. Jodan the show, which means you have to be joking, and so it's Michael Jodan, like Michael Jordan. It was like, what the hell were these people thinking?
I said that to somebody's like, I was like, it's just a Michael Jordan, and they were like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Michael
I
Jordan.
liked that
As
there was a
fan of
callback
awful
to it later.
puns,
Yes,
I
it
love
was like a cute
Oh,
little.
it's him. That was my
Yeah.
immediate thought.
It became like a cute little point in their relationship too, where it's
Yeah.
just like they would like come back to it, and you're like, oh, it's
It
like
set the
their
tone.
inside joke. Yeah.
Yeah, it set the tone for their relationship right off the bat.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really did. I think that it's kind of that off the bat relationship that I found very interesting. In a very similar vein to other series, which I'm not going to name necessarily because what I'm about to say is kind of a spoiler to that in vein. The first girl scene not being the first girl, last girl one is so interesting because it takes all preconceptions of what you're expecting and kind of tears them down for something that's very organic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like the relationship with people, with the Kansai in particular, is something that just like it feels so unbelievably natural that, of course, like you said, Dodger, it's kind of like you can see the inspiration from real life taken with it, and that's what I thought was really cool about it because there's one particular moment in the first volume, and it's whenever he's talking to Miss Understanding, and he's texting her and and Kansai at the same time, and it's him switching between texting between the two of them simultaneously. And what I love about it is you get that sense of like actually having the phone in your hands because it's like
Yeah.
one person is faster replying than the other person. Like they're much more like on the point of what they want to say. Whereas Misunderstanding is a lot more controlled in her words because she doesn't want to give off the wrong impression.
Yes.
And it was such a weird, like surreal experience. Like you were just observing live texts, like this
Well,
like
yeah,
SR.
And watching him respond in very different ways too.
Yes.
Right? Like with Misunderstanding, he was very like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I don't want to bother you. Like, is that okay? Are you sure?" Like very tiptoey. But because Kansai was so upfront and jokey with him
Yes.
really early on in their relationship, all of their messages back and forth were just like, "Shut up.
Dude, it was
Shut
like-
up."
Yeah,
It
it
was
was
real
so-
I would
It
say
was-
that.
Oh, go ahead, Lou.
Now go, Aaron.
No, you go.
cute. No.
Okay,
No,
fine.
you.
No, also I wanted to say how he would react or interact with his thread. How you would see like 10 or 20 messages from just staying or that were labeled anonymous, and he would just have to respond to like maybe one message to try and get his points across. Like it felt like they took the time to create this area around him of in I lost it. Fuck.
Oh no. No, like
I think you get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah,
that
it's
that
the
same
aura of the
feeling? That same feeling of okay, he's interacting with multiple people differently, and he's kind of forced to interact with his thread, which is a group of we don't know how many people that are following
Love
this
the
thread at the
thread.
same time.
And
Yeah.
I that's what I loved about Densho Otoko too, is that the responses are so varied, right? It's not like everybody who's responding to him feels exactly the same way. And I loved some of the messages you could tell were pulled directly from the thread that were just
Yeah.
like amazing one-liners, just like really funny jokes that I can
Yeah.
imagine my friends making to me.
yes.
You know, like, I was like, oh my god, those are definitely things that real people said in the moment. We're like, this is fucking funny. You know, like, I love that.
Yeah, no, the entire, like we were talking, to go back to the text messages,
Sure.
It felt so realistic. There were times where I was just like, I would think, man, I'm reading so much, like, so much exposition. There's so much words happening. And then I would just like, I don't really care that much, because it's really interesting to see the differences in the tone of the text to the different people. And because that's just a very realistic thing, because you're trying to, how we act, I know, especially, like, I mean, for me, I was, like, able to kind of really relate to that in terms of, like, there's people that I text in certain ways, and then people I text in, like, a completely flippant, like, oh, yeah, whatever, and everything goes for this text message. And so that was just really fascinating to see be done in a manga without being boring, because it could be so easy. Like, there's sometimes where you're just like, oh, they want this to be really realistic, but it's realistic to the point where it's so boring that I can't really follow along. Like, I don't even want to pay attention. But with this, it was just really interesting to see the conversations and how they flowed from one to the other, and see the characters' relationships develop through that too.
Yeah, I think that's like one of the strengths of the series, was just kind of how it takes your expectations of how people react and kind of changes them based upon reactions. Certain characters you would assume would work in certain ways, but it wasn't until like Molester would do something that you'd see an unexpected reaction that would be a really telling trait of the character. And I think that that's like what's interesting about it, because like you have someone like Lolly, for instance, and how she reacts is so unexpected, or at least was for me, and when in comparison to like what you'd atypically expect from her archetype and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah,
I would agree.
Yeah,
with that.
even little things like when he goes to her house for the first time, and he's like,
Yes.
oh, her like aesthetic in her house is very minimal, right? And it's not something that I think somebody who's choosing that for that character would make a reality, right?
Yeah.
Man, one of the best scenes with her is whenever she just says, "I'm all ears," and she's turns on her PlayStation 2.
Yes.
And I was
Lolly
like, oh my
confused the
god,
fuck
I've
out of
been
me.
here!
Lolly was like the most unbelievable person to me, because literally every time she was like, we need to talk, or hey, come over, I'll give you your shirt, she was just like, do you want to sit in silence and like not address anything that we were supposed to for like hours? And he'd be like, you know, he's already established as sort of a socially awkward person, so he's like, I don't understand. Is this normal? Do I just sit here? Should I read manga? What the fuck do I do? And I'm like, dude, I don't know. I would be confused too. This isn't normal. Like, Lolly is super weird.
Like,
See, here's the thing though. As someone that also was playing Dragon Quest VIII in 2004, 2005, I totally get it.
I totally get it.
No, but
you understand her?
But Lou, to the point of like, hey, I know that you're waiting on me to do a thing or talk about a thing, but can I take a shower? I was like, no, you may not take a fucking shower. Like,
dude, it was so
weird.
good.
Her her avoidance of wanting to communicate was so, and like that was something else I was reading it. I was like, God, some stuff that they do frustrates the fuck out of me. I'm so annoyed. And then I was like, but God, I've heard stories of people being in relationships or like having conversations and dealing with this, and I was just like, it is realistic. Like, there is stuff where people, they don't act exactly how you want them to act, because they're human, because they are realistic, and so their actions are like really showing that however they're feeling. And I'm just like, man, you are so annoying to me, Lolly. Like, you're inserting yourself and getting all jealous, being like a jelly bean when you didn't really have anything to do with it. You came out of nowhere. I was like, but
you know what I was surprised about, but it was another like, well, I guess in real life that wouldn't have happened. I was surprised that Glasses just disappeared.
Dude,
they had that
great.
conversation where he was
this
like,
is amazing.
I thought he was a serious character. Like, I thought
Dude,
he was an
I was
important
so
character.
like, wow, this is like real life. It's like the semester's over. Oh, there goes all those people I knew.
yeah.
yeah, because like they had that phone call, right, where he was like, oh man, I misjudged you, Glasses, you're a bro. And I was like, oh,
here's
are
a
they
crab.
gonna be friends?
The best
And
part, he's a crab.
Yeah, sent him a crab. They had a long phone call where they were like, we have so many similar interests. You're a cool dude. You're a cool dude too. And then they fucking never talked again.
The line is, I found out today Glasses is a bro. And then that's like it.
That's the end.
And then he's just like, whatever. Like,
It's like, he's a bro. Okay, well, yeah, like that's something that you expect from a sort
Misunderstanding
of
as well.
fiction, where you're expecting them to have much bigger roles, like because we've been trained in fiction to like think about it like that.
Yes.
That the first person we see, they're gonna be important characters to the story. But with this, we had numerous characters where it really wasn't. They were with those two, they were really more catalysts for the really important meat of the story to happen.
They were the second and third characters introduced, and they were like the first ones to get dropped, which is what's weird. And like Lolly had that weird kind of resurgence almost, right?
Yeah.
Where it's kind of like she had this trough where she was like, there was like, oh, I don't want to do this thing because I know I'll have to see her. No, that was so interesting to me how he was just like, I'm going to avoid even going to the restaurant. That's how much I don't want to see her.
Yes.
And then it just gets out of the control because she's like. And then there's like the whole he comes over to her house and it just gets all weird and kind of like squiggly.
Well, like he got sick and then she came over to his house with Kansai.
I was like,
nope.
What are you doing there?
That was so. You see Kansai walk in and then she walks in and he goes, "What the fuck is this?"
So many. Oh my
These
god.
internal monologues were so on point. It was ridiculous.
Dude, it was amazing.
That was something that I was like, there was a lot of times where I was thinking, man, I can't really relate to what some of his stuff he's thinking, but I bet there's a lot of guys who totally relate to exactly what he's thinking.
The best one, the one that was like, wow. I was 20, like what, a few months ago? The line that stuck out to me was, I am interested in misunderstanding. I would like to smex her. And then it goes to like her, just like, I would like to smex her as well. And I don't like her, but I'll smex her as well. And I was like, that is exactly what some virgin would think at age 20.
Yes.
It was just so amazing.
Oh my gosh, or like, what was the term that he came up with? Righteous ulterior motives.
Yes.
Dude, yes.
He was like, no, I have righteous ulterior motives, and they're like, you're such a fucking scumbag. And he's like, no, but like I don't just want to have sex with her, like I want to, like date her and like stuff, righteous ulterior motives.
It's righteous ulterior
like that's
motives.
so on point.
It's so, and like just a lot of his like struggle of trying to figure stuff out too, and like seeing him not understand how the girls are acting, like. Him not really having that understanding was made really obvious, and it wasn't like we had a ton of like view into all of their heads either. So I really got to experience like what he was thinking and everything that he was feeling, and just made it that more immersive. Yeah.
I think that like one of the interesting things about him being the central vessel that we're taken through the story with is that he's so unfiltered in every like raw sense. Like, of course, in the actual post, we may not have the level of insight that we have in the manga version, but I think it was so interesting seeing just how he was so confused by certain things. Why he was like, why is she's clearly upset, like, but why is she upset? Like, I thought Misunderstanding said that this was worked out. It's clearly not worked out. Like, and how he was just kind of trying to adapt to a situation that was constantly fluctuating around him was really interesting because... when you take it as a point of view of like someone who's never had friends, right? Who's living in a world where it's no different than what we're doing right now, right? I've never met any of you physically or in any sense of the word, but yet we can seek advice from one another in a very metaphysical kind of way. Yeah. And that's what I thought was really interesting about using the board as like the anonymous as its own character. Because it was the voice of deception and reason at the same time. It was like, whoa, man, you blew it. Virgin forever. GG, bad end. And that was like what it was doing. But then there was other times where it was like, you really should call her and tell her that you're going to see your parents. Like, she'll change like the way she sees you. Like that you obviously care about things other than like what she knows you for. And there's such an interesting like voice of, it was like the devil and the angel, right, on both shoulders. Because it was like, it was like 2chan was both the greatest and worst part about him.
Yeah.
Also, booting up Windows XP, he does it so fast. It was just, I was like, I could hear the sound, like just the ringing of the bell and the green pastures. I was like, oh, Windows XP.
Oh my gosh, the scene when he's first at Lolly's house and she just like hard unplugs the PS2 and he's like, I'm so sorry, PS2.
Yeah, he's like apologizing.
Yes.
He like feels genuine dread of like, oh my god, you just unplugged it. You didn't even turn it off normally.
That was really bad.
I think it was so interesting, like how he cared so much about things around him that weren't even necessarily of sentient nature. His computer, of course. There's the big one, which is Sachiko, his
Yes,
Onaho.
Oh my God,
You
Sachiko
mean
best
God?
character. Sachiko
Even-
best girl.
Even-
Sachiko best girl.
His hobby was also really interesting to me, and I thought it was really interestingly how it wasn't as developed, but like how he's this otaku for pets. Like I
Yes.
never heard of such a thing. Like I thought it was like this crazy cat girl, but apparently he has like he's got all these like snakes and fish and stuff, and it was so odd how he was this such a unique individual that he likes gaming, and he'd be like, "I'm sorry, but Gundam's on, and I really need to watch Gundam."
It's like he knows me. I know that.
And then the internal monologue there was so relatable. It was even though she wasn't questioning what I was watching, all I could think about was all the questions she might ask. I couldn't focus a bit on the show.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was just like, I know exactly what this is like.
Totally.
Yes.
It's like it's similar. It's in the same vein of when you show a friend your favorite show and you can't focus because you're like, oh my God, I hope that they like it. Do they
Just
like
like-
it? I'm gonna look at their
Yes.
face. They're not smiling.
Oh.
Maybe they hate it. Oh God, I never should have suggested this show. Right? Like that
Yeah.
anxiety.
No,
It's like-
it's
that's
that I
exactly-
love this. I want you to love it as well. And it's just like, oh my God, is this working? Like,
Yes.
it was so like, and that was such an interesting thing just about that. And then I fell in love with Kansai. Like
I loved her.
she resembled so much of like every woman who's been in my love life. There's just this woman who's like, I don't give a shit about you, and I'm like, I love you for that. Like, I was like, you're doing this reverse psychology thing really well right now. And I just love how she's so guilty. I think that was like, it was such a beautiful element about her, was that like I could see women like my friend, like a guy friend that I was doing. I feel like if you put in a comparable situation where your best friend asks out this person, you support them, and they reject your best friend, and that person asks you out. It's such because I was sitting there like, why don't you do this? Like you clearly like him, like
Yes.
because I was
But
it's
when
such
you
like
put yourself in that position, you get it.
yeah,
Yeah.
as soon as you realize that she agreed to support her through this, the moment that really hit it for me was when he sees the sticker of them, and he sees the sticker and it says best friends, and you get it. It all of a sudden clicks. It's like they're more than coworkers. Like they were best friends before this, and here you are, this source of ruckus and like just this torrent that flies through this Neverland. And now all of a sudden it's like, wow, everything's changed. And do I still have the same values I had before this storm came?
Yes.
And I feel like it was that kind of just resolute nature she had that I thought was just incredible. Also, her brother was like, wow, I've met this guy. This is every girlfriend's
Yes.
brother I know. It's just this guy who's like, what?
Yeah, it's just like hanging out. Really doesn't have that much of an investment. But
doesn't
if you
even
mess with his
necessarily,
sister,
like-
he's gonna kill you.
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't even necessarily care about you one way or the
No.
other. He just wants you to know that he's there.
Yeah.
He's not protective of his sister. He doesn't even care about his sister, but he doesn't want you to get in his way of whatever he's doing.
Yes, exactly.
You were a guest in my home. And I want to make that abundantly clear.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that.
Speaking of, damn it, Aaron, I keep interrupting you. I feel bad. It's your turn to go first this time.
No,
Go ahead.
I was gonna say having like it be a kind of a harem manga in a way. It was so nice to see that all of the girls weren't that typical like the stereotype that we see in harem anime and manga,
Yeah.
where it's like you didn't have just like the tsundere, the yandere, the cutesy girl, like. They were all, they had such depth. They didn't just fit into that one specific idea that we usually have going into harem or like that we see from situations with this, which made it so much more enjoyable for me.
Yeah, and the way that it developed too, probably because it was based on reality,
Yeah.
but the way that it developed was so much more natural as well, of just like, I'm focused on this girl who I think is really cute and she's involved in my life and I don't know, maybe this could go somewhere. And then I'm realizing now that maybe I don't actually like that girl, I just think that she's hot, but I actually really like this girl who I have a good connection with. And then, then there's this girl who like super wants me to bone her. Like, what do I do?
Yeah.
You know, like it was a much more believable sort of progression there, and like things, you know, rose and fell in relevance as time went on in a way that I, you know, could appreciate more, rather than just being like, why is everybody trying to bone you at the same time? This isn't realistic.
Yes, exactly. Lou, what were you gonna say? Oh, sorry.
No, I have to agree with the Dodger just on that one idea, because I think we can all agree it's a long manga, so just guys know that going in.
It's a lot longer than you're
It's
expecting.
21 chapters. Trust me, it does not feel like 21 chapters.
like
some of the chapters are like 70 pages.
Yeah.
Just
21 volumes, maybe.
Just roll.
Yes. Yeah, it felt a lot more like 70 chapters. It just felt like a lot
what's up,
more.
Lou?
No, well, I mean, first, speaking towards the chapter length, I didn't feel it at all. Like, I just breezed right through it.
There wasn't like a number on it either, which like helped with like that kind of like, there was no like clear stopping points sometimes. You know what I'm saying? So there wasn't the whole like splash screen, right? Where it's like in some mangas it's like color page sideways, chapter 328. He picks up this thing.
Yes.
And then you turn the page and it's just black and white again. There was none of that, right? So like you never had that clear division. So I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to elaborate on before was more about what happened in Kansai's house and
it's
where the fuck that sex scene came from.
It's amazing.
Dude.
That was
I loved it.
It was fantastic. And it was out of nowhere. It was just like, they
was
pop kiss and
yaoi
she's like,
beds
do
were
me.
so
The yaoi bed.
The yaoi beds were. I like immediately the second I got there, I texted Aaron and I was like, "There are straight up yaoi beds in this manga." I like took a picture. The bed. So for those of you who don't know, watching right now, yaoi beds is like a weird phenomenon that happens in manga sometimes, where the bed is like the size of a flatbed truck, and the people look so small. And I'm like, there are no beds that are that size in real people's houses. But yeah, in this sex scene, there was definitely a yaoi bed.
There was.
It was
Anyway, moving on.
No, but I think it was really interesting how that arose. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Lou, it's kind of like, it didn't feel forced, I think is the biggest thing. It's because, I don't know, like it's, what I love is, it's how this guy's never kissed a girl. So he's also a virgin. And so like, this is information overload to him.
Yes.
And that's what I think is really interesting, because when you take it like that, this guy's experiencing so much. Like most people might have had strides, right? Like, now we're going to hold hands. Now we're going to kiss. Now we're going to do this and this and this. And it's just like, he's just shifting from first gear to fifth. Like, it's really interesting.
And it goes out of, it's another thing. It's like, it disrupts that formula that we're used to. Like, we're so used to it being the final thing. Like, that's the final act that couples do. That's how it's always presented in, like, romantic anything. And so,
it's the consummation of the relationship.
The consummation of the booty touching. But like with this, there's nothing, everything about it is realistic. Like there's something in there that it's like they aren't necessarily going to follow. Like life isn't a formula, guys. Life is not a formula. And so I loved that it felt like it kind of came out of nowhere. Like it felt like just, wait, what? Weren't they just they're in a weird, they aren't like really dating yet, but you can tell they definitely both like each other, but they're not actually, is this the right idea? Is this like what they should be doing? I love that it made me question that, and that it caught me off guard, and that it was really like, I don't know, it was really, the way it was drawn and the shading of it and everything too also felt really realistic.
I think it was really tasteful is what it was.
Tasteful.
I think it's just a really good word to describe it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like, what's weird about it, and this is the weird confession, I lost my virginity and got my first kiss within the same day as well. And so it's this weird thing where it's like, to him, he doesn't understand how this person doesn't love him, right? Because I think that's the core theme. Because, you know, people like me who were in that situation as well, it's the idea that you love to be loved, if that makes sense, right? You love other people depending upon their love of you. How he gives up on misunderstanding because she doesn't love him, and he's okay with that. But when he finds out people are interested in him, he falls in love with them just because they love him. When you take something so physical, this consummation between two individuals, you believe that this has to be love, right? And it's just so grounding and beautiful that it wasn't. Because, you know, coming from that experience, it doesn't have to be. That's the thing, right? And because, I mean, like, that's... If someone has sex with you, just right now, they don't have to marry you or even date you. That's not how it works.
That's how real life works.
Yes, exactly.
Which explains the rejection that happened right after.
And that's what made it so awesome.
Yes.
Because it was like,
That was the
Damn
best
it!
part.
Like,
There was no guilt or like shaming in it really.
It just felt like
yeah.
you just got like your fucking soul ripped out, and that's what I loved about this series was that it's so much more emotional than you believe, right? You believe at first it's just going to be kind of like this weird. Well, I didn't because I knew who it was by, so I was like, he did this before to me, so I'm expecting it again.
Me too. I was like,
but it was like it was so just like you just felt so. You didn't feel angry, right? I think at no point in this series did I feel angry at anyone's decisions. I just felt so much like him. I just felt like, why is this happening to me? Like, why is this going on?
Yeah.
And he just questions everything because he doesn't understand. Like, but because the more he wants to know, the more vague the answers he gets.
Mm-hmm.
Where he's just like, please, just tell me what you think.
Yeah.
And she's like, I can't tell you. And he's like, I would rather have an answer than no answer at all.
Mm-hmm.
And then he gives the ultimatum, right? Where he's like the 25th. And that's such a cool waiting scene. That like whole... Because I love how they break it, first off. Like, I think we've all had that promise, right? Where it's like, we're going to take a break and we will meet here on this date at this time. And it always just fails.
It never works like that. Yeah, exactly.
Because people aren't black and white. We have all these uncontrollable urges and desires that we can't really suppress, especially for that amount of time.
Yeah.
And I think that was so interesting how then all of a sudden we get the reintroduction, right, of misunderstanding. Mm-hmm. And she feels like this totally new character. And like, because you know
like
that he doesn't have
breath of
feelings.
fresh air from his past, even though it's only been like a month, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. And because like you know what I'm saying, because it's like that feeling where it's like, I know who misunderstanding is, I think, but I don't actually know her because I only knew her from his like subjugated view of her. Yeah. Back when he was still interested in her, and then when I thought back, I was like, I don't really know anything about her other than she's kind of aloof a lot.
Yeah.
Other than she's a little spacey.
Yes.
Quiet and cute. Yeah. That's like all we knew.
That's like all we knew, but we built upon our perceptions of what we've seen those qualities and characters before. So we're like, oh, she's kind of like this character. And so then getting to see her later on, to see her actually be who she is and learn a little bit more about her, it's like, oh, she has a lot more depth to her than I thought she did. Okay, I can dig this. This is pretty cool.
Yeah. And I think that's like one of the coolest parts, right? The whole entire series is kind of like, it's not what it appears to be. And I think that's what's so interesting about it, because no matter like what you've heard or what you've read with it or like what you're familiar with, it's never quite what you expect.
Right.
Because I mean, if you look at it just from like, again, like what Dodger said, because I don't think you're alone in your kind of discretion towards the first like 7 chapters or so.
No, not at all. I had trouble getting into it at first too. I thought it was pretty slow.
I think it's a lot easier to get into than something like Masturbation Kurosawa, where it's just like comes flying and stuff.
Yeah.
And you just kind of...
No, I was in immediately.
Yeah.
I was like, I remember when I read it, I was like, should I be reading this right now? Like,
it was like,
oh, that was a key selling point for me.
No,
Manga.
You're welcome to MangaPod. I was gonna say, welcome to MangaPod.
I was like, I don't know about this one. And I think it's impossible not to compare the two, because the two are so similar in so many different ways, yet they're entirely different, right? But like at their core, it's like that experience feels so similar. Yeah. Not necessarily in how it gets resolved or anything, but it's like, I'm gonna do this thing, and now how do we get from here to here, and how the person changes on the way, I think is the best thing about it. Because development like that is something that's really rare to find, especially in manga, let alone in 2 volumes. Yeah. Like what it accomplished in just 700 pages completely blew me away, considering it, like by the end, you forget that their names, like you said, are just aliases. Like you forget that Molester's not his name. Like he's not a person. And it's so weird when you kind of like come back to it and think of it as that entity, because it's like whenever he left the VIP thread, which the Vipers was like, I loved it.
The Vipers
summoned the Vipers, but it was when like those people had no idea who he was, and it was just kind of this weird relationship he had with them, and then with the physical world. Yeah, and that was what really made this series a lot different than Ononi Master Kurosawa, as far as like how characters interact, I think they're very similar.
Yeah.
But as far as like the characters themselves, they're quite different.
Yeah.
And that's what I think is really cool about this. And it's, God, you know, I don't think it's really weird that I think someone would pick this up in this case. And so I think that, like, I don't know, maybe this is just me thinking this, but because I'd like to hear your thoughts on this, but it's the idea that when you walk away from this series, you come out with a stronger appreciation not only for those that we know in our daily lives, but also those that we never get to see, that we can't see between, that we can only see between an LCD screen.
Yeah.
That kind of person that we know is out there, and we know they're a person because they're typing some really BM stuff sometimes, but those people that like those are people, and that's what I think is really cool about this. Is like I think that's something that I took away from it personally. I don't know how if like you guys kind of felt the same way at some point.
Yeah, it definitely feels like it gives you appreciation. Like you realize that there's always people behind the screen. Like there's always somebody there. It gave a characterization to those people, and like made you realize that, like, even because we were talking before we started, like we've like followed each other on Twitter and YouTube for like years, but we've never actually like talked
like, this
to
is the
each
first
other.
time
Yeah, this is the first time we've
Aaron have ever spoken to each
Yeah.
other, but yet it doesn't feel like that. Like
yeah, like
I
you
feel like I've heard your voice so many times that I've always just kind of imagined the text being read by that kind of Microsoft Aaron, I guess.
Yeah,
And
exactly. Like it's just like you feel like you've known the person, and so it's a weird phenomenon that the internet's really brought, that you don't have to physically be in people's presence to really feel like you know them and you understand them as a person, or that you can go to them for advice, or that you can rely on them, or like what the meaning of friendship really is too. It's something like it just really changed that. And so like especially with forums and stuff like that, depending on like what forums you get into, some can be like really toxic, but some can be like home. Like some are like there's some places where, and some people who go on the internet and they think like this is where they belong, this is who they relate to and what they like really enjoy. And so yeah, it's something that I came away from, and it was just a reminder. Like I got that from Densha Otoko too, where I was like, Densha Otoko definitely was different in how they portrayed the forum people, because it gave like faces and like relationships to most of them. Yeah. And so it was different in that aspect, but with this it was just the way the voices of the text were, that you're just like you were able to get an understanding for the people behind it, even if you didn't actually know them.
Yeah, and I think that's like something that we all kind of experience. We're experiencing right now, like to break the fourth wall, the comments section, right? And just like the chat and everything. I have no idea who some of these people are, but I know they're humans, or maybe they're bots trying to sell me shirts.
It's per bot. It's all per bot.
They're all per bot.
Per bot.
Nyan, nyan.
Nyan, nyan.
Lou, what are your feelings?
Yeah, Lou.
All right. In regards to how it represented the thread, in like feelings in what respect though, like because the way I saw or I treated the thread in this manga was kind of like, all right, how can I put this? Kind of like it was a multitude of characters and it was constantly changing. So whenever I would read through those comments, I would envision a different type of person based on what was said. And it all felt very real. As someone that spends a lot of time on the internet, these are the type of people that I interact with, people that will tell me the worst possible scenario and egg me on to, oh no, man, that's awesome. Go ahead and do that. Those people that aren't necessarily trolls, but will go out of their way to make sure that you screw up in a funny way. I don't know, like and make it known that they're joking.
Yeah.
By including a LOL.
Yeah,
exactly.
Oh my god, dude! Yeah, LOL. Oh my god,
Lol.
It was everywhere.
Yeah.
It might as well have been a
many
substitute
LOLs.
for a period.
I was like, it's my life.
It was just like, oh, that's too bad, lol.
Lol.
Dude, okay, wait. Oh my gosh, what's his name? Wait. I left the page up. Okay. Abe Takakazu.
Dude, what a suave dude.
The dude, yeah, the waiter at the restaurant.
Yeah, dude.
Is he where that face came from? Or did he have that face
Oh my
as a joke? Because there was remember there's that one page where
No,
he
yeah.
has the orgasm
face.
face that
Yes.
people put on states and countries all the time. And I was like,
Mhm.
is he where the orgasm face came from?
Or is he
Hold
just
on.
the embodiment of the orgasm
Yeah,
face?
or is he, because there were so many other characters
Emoji faces
that
and stuff.
had emoji faces and things as like puns.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I
Totally.
was like, is he a living pun? Is he
Is
like
this
a
the
waiting
one?
pun?
Well, considering where the thread was, like the fact that these characters or whatever were represented with emojis doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah. Oh,
I mean,
no,
that's
not
something
at all.
that's all.
Wait, I'm finding his
I think
face
it's
for
something
everybody.
that like really aided in reinforcing the fact that it was a forum and like a Tucci forum, especially. And
Yeah, definitely.
this came out. So the original thread happened in 2004, correct? Okay.
Correct.
And so that was like right when the all the forums and stuff were starting to like explode. You're getting there. You'll get it. You got have gotten it.
I've covered all my bases at this point.
I was trying to think. I was like trying to remember. I would have been in 2004. I would have been 14, 15 years old. I was on LiveJournal at that point. All about that LiveJournal.
Yeah.
I didn't even know what
LiveJournal.
Tucci was.
4th grade, son.
4th grade.
I was 18. I was.
No, that face is from a different manga,
Yeah.
so I think he's meant as a pun.
He's a pun.
I think he's a pun. I think he's a living pun.
Oh my god!
There's quite a few of those
I
misunderstanding.
loved the pun about the trunks. The trunks pun.
Oh my god,
was
dude,
so
that was
Oh my
so
my
God.
favorite pun of all, where he's just
Also-
like, I was wearing Vegeta's son this whole time.
dude, that was so good. Oh my
also,
God.
the face of his, like, all of the faces in his mind, the lord.
The committee?
Of-
Oh my god,
Yes.
The
yes.
committees.
And then you'd Eisen as one of the faces.
Eisen was one of them. Yes, I was like, they're not even telling you that it's an Eisen pun, but I was like, I would know that fucking face anywhere.
Dude, it was just
There
that
are bleach
shitty
jokes in
grin
this
that Eisen
manga.
has.
there
Oh
was
my
there
god.
was lots of JoJo's jokes too.
Oh, there were
Yeah.
I
so
loved
many.
the JoJo's jokes. Wherever it's like his face would take on that JoJo style seriousness was so good. I
Dude,
loved
it was such a an interesting just culmination of just all of his influences. Like it was, you could clearly see that he was aiming to make it a representation of a forum that happened on a board that's kind of a cesspool, just a
Yes.
clusterfuck of just ideals in anime.
Yes.
And that's what I thought was so cool about it. I loved it. Also, his shirts were amazing. How you just have words written in poorly written handwriting. I liked them a
Yes.
lot.
Oh my god, it was so
Oh my
good.
god, and the very first time that we see the Ona hole, and he's like, maybe I shouldn't have even included this, but guess what? It happened.
Yes! He's
Dude.
like, I didn't really feel comfortable doing this, but it actually happened, so
But
I
it's
had
in there
to.
because he did talk about it in the thread, so I guess it's relevant. It's literally
Yes.
just like a giant vagina toy. It's just
Dude,
like,
the
where am I
best-
gonna
the-
put
But when he took the picture and
The
put all
picture.
the
Yeah, I was about to say,
roses-
the best part was whenever Sachiko was posing with the bouquet, and then you get the actual photo.
like flowers?
It was
coming out of
so
her
good.
hole.
And the
Très
threat
magnifique.
like he was gonna hurt himself. Like everybody was really worried about him, and then just like, oh no, you just took your time to set up this awesome picture.
Oh my god. Yeah, it's like, where is he? Is he okay? Is he okay?
Dude, and then he just typed and then just held the H key a bunch. And they're like, and then the chat's like, I swear to God, if it's a fucking cockroach, I'm leaving.
Something that I loved was whenever he would kind of short circuit his feelings, it would just go into keyboard smashing,
Dude,
like
yeah.
Aaron speak. I was like, oh my god, it's amazing because there's I love that this generation understands that if this manga this manga got sent back in time 10, 15 years or 20 years ago, people would see that and be like,
I don't why.
what? And so I love that that's such a relatable feeling. Even the fact that it's just keyboard smashing, it's like, I understand how you're feeling right now. I totally get that. You're just like, what am I supposed to, I can't even compose normal thoughts or anything like that. And then, oh gosh, what was I gonna say? I had something else I was gonna say, but now I can't remember what it was. Shoot. Oh, Lou, I was gonna ask you, who your favorite girl was.
See,
Sachiko,
here's the
best
thing.
I mean, other than Sachiko.
I love
Other than-
Sachiko. Don't get me wrong. I mean, Sachiko is the most dare of the dare. But probably Kansai, to be honest, which isn't normally the type of girl that I would favor in this situation. Like normally, Lolly Jugs would get my vote.
Dude, all she needed was tattoos and dyed hair, and I was like, Kansai.
Agreed.
3D, please.
Kansai.
3D.
3D waifu.
For me, multicolored dyed hair.
Yeah.
I was like, too strong. Please nerf.
Waifu. Ultimate waifu.
Dude,
Yeah,
too good.
I mean, Kansai, like, I don't know, like, through the story, you just felt like she was your friend, you know?
Yeah.
And, I don't know, yeah, I just, like, I want to be bros with her real bad. Like, she's just, like, awesome.
Yeah.
Lollyjugs confused the shit out of me.
So, which, God, no, there's times where, like, trying to remember what manga it was, where, like, it was back really, it might have been Densha Otoko, where we were talking about, like, the dynamics between how guys think and girls think, and me and Yoku, like, got into it. And,
yeah, because, there was that whole section where, oh, well, I guess, no, that's spoiling Densha Otoko.
I know what you're talking about, though. Yes.
But yes,
I haven't read that yet.
And
so.
Yeah,
gosh, it's so
you
good.
should, because
It's
it's
so
I
good.
think it was my first 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I think it was mine, too.
On
It was the
MangaPod?
first, yeah.
No, but yeah, Yoku was like, there were so many things where you and I, Aaron and I, were going, that's not realistic at all. Like, why would he think that? And Yoku was like, no, that's highly accurate.
Yeah.
That is like
Highly.
extremely accurate.
And so
We were
there
like,
was times in this where I was, the same exact thing happened where I was like, man, is that like how like girls actually think? And is that how guys think girls think? And then I was like, no, that's how people think. And so then I was like, and I, like I said before, I know people who've been in the situation. And online I've read stuff where they're just like, yeah, I was with this girl and she was just completely confusing. I did not understand exactly what she was thinking, and she would not like communicate with me to let me know what she's thinking. And so it was just like, there's just so much realism to everything. As much as it frustrated me, I was still like, gosh, but that's how people are. Like, everybody is different. Like, everybody's ways of thinking, and you have to really learn people's thought processes and communicate. Like, it's all about communication and to understand each other.
yeah, because believe me, like, even like Aaron and I don't even understand girls. Like,
Nope.
Don't even try, boys.
No. It's like,
I
listen,
mean-
just talk. Girls and guys, just talk. It
Okay,
makes
just
everything so much easier.
talk about what you're feeling. Don't
talk
play
about
games,
it.
yo.
Yeah.
You're overestimating the
And for all the guys out
power
there,
of talking.
I know.
Because confusion
Keep
is
it under
just inevitable.
control.
True. Yeah, keep it under control. That's true.
it works.
I will agree
It's
with
the
Holden.
master ball. It has 100% catch rate. Trust me.
Keep it under control? Is that what you
Yeah,
said?
man. It's got the 100% catch rate. I call it the master ball.
Beautiful.
Dude, there were so... It cracked me up every time he had, like, a free second, and he goes, maybe I can wank one out.
Yes.
Dude.
Oh my god.
Can
it
I
was
wank
so
one
much-
out
That's
right now?
I was like, this
I was
is
about to say-
And
Yeah.
nope,
Yeah.
I can't. Nope. All right. Somebody's at the door. Never mind.
part where you-
It's so often.
Is this a government conspiracy to try to make my dick blow up? That was like
She's
the
a secret.
best.
Who
She's
was
a
it?
she's a
Who was
government operative
Yes.
to tease my cock.
To tease my
There.
cock. Yes, that's what I was gonna say. Whose was it that came over and he was just like, I really
Lolly.
want to wank.
That was
Why are
Lolly
you here? It was
Jugs.
Lolly. That's right.
Because he wanted to be faithful to Kansai.
Yes, and he's just like, oh.
Yeah, and then later
Why
in
are
the
you
thread,
here?
he's like, by the way, I still have yet to masturbate to Lolly. Not interested in her, for the record. I was like, aw.
Oh God, I loved so much about this.
Yeah.
Can I say what my favorite part of the manga is?
Yes.
That was not a comedy moment and that wasn't the sex scene, because the sex scene was amazing. When Molester went to Lolly Jugs' house and stepped away from the situation and just allowed them to resolve it. That for me was a major sign of growth on his part, and just how his character developed after that. He became a lot more easygoing, more relaxed, like he could breathe. I don't know. I really appreciated that, because I could see myself doing that in the same situation. Just, you know what? I'm not going to get in between two best friends. you guys sort it out. If you want, you know how to contact me. Peace.
Totally. I loved like the way that the story progressed. I hit a point where I was going, you know what? If he doesn't wind up with anyone, I'm still satisfied with how much growth we've seen in his character.
Yes.
Yeah.
In this story. Like, even if the story wound up just being about him finally making friends and learning about people and love and like all these things and walking away just being a more confident person, I would be satisfied with this story, you know?
Totally.
And that's what, and we saw that development from him, which was something else that was just like, he developed in a really natural way. It wasn't just something like, boom, boom, boom. He dramatically shifted. It was just like, he was still that same person we saw at the beginning, but with definite differences near the end that you were like really rooting for him for, that he had goals at the beginning of the manga to kind of change in those ways, and he definitely achieved those, whether he was like consciously doing that or not, but it was definitely a growth that we saw at the end, which I love. I really love.
I think that's like the beauty of like this series and like Onani Master Kurosawa, is that it's a series at its core. Both of the main characters are these self-centered narcissists, where like they believe that the world only exists around them to be nothing more than temptation, and it's their like ultimate self-sacrifice, like how willing they are to give up everything that they've achieved in order to, because they know that what it's like to have nothing, because that's all they've lived with.
Yes.
And to be able to let, because the saying is, if you love something, let it go. If it comes back, it is truly yours. And that's what I think is so prominent with both series, and that's why I think it's like because it's so hard to let go.
Oh yeah.
Because if you let go, you'll never know if it comes back. You don't know if you're throwing a ninja star or a boomerang. Well, you might if you've got eyes, but maybe you don't, and maybe you're kind of not touch sensitive.
Even up until the end, like, they were
You've got
pretty
no
upfront
idea.
with him about, well, like, all of the girls were really upfront with him about, you're being really selfish right now.
Yes.
Like, I
And then-
understand that you're trying to help, but the way that you're presenting your side of everything, it's obvious that, you know, you're coming at this from a very selfish angle. And I think that it was, like, important for him to hear that, you know?
Yes.
Of, like...
Yeah, and I love that he was straight up like, no, I realize that. Like, I get that. And so, which is something he's like, he's totally understanding of it, but with what he's wanting, he's like being very honest about it too. He's like, listen, this is what I want, and the reasons I'm doing this are incredibly selfish, but I also think it'll be good for you guys. Which I liked. We are coming up on an hour, so let's touch on art, and then we will give our final thoughts and ratings, and do the rest of our MangaPod stuffs. So, what were your guys' thoughts on art? Lou, you go first.
It started off a little rough at first. It was that lack of detail that it was a little off-putting, but it also made it was also expected, considering that it was a doujinshi and based on a Tuchi thread. But as it progressed, I started to get used to that style, that rough style of drawing that the mangaka used. And whenever there were instances where there was these pages dedicated to just one large panel, there was a lot of detail in there, and I really liked it. So I really like the art. I'm not going to say that it's my favorite art that I've seen in manga thus far, but it definitely has its own charm to it that I can really appreciate.
Yeah, I loved the it felt very amateur in that it kind of like fit with the idea that it wasn't like a published, like Holden, like you said at the beginning, like it wasn't a published manga, it wasn't a professional, it was somebody doing it because he wanted to do it and because he really had a love for the story and wanted to create it. And so I loved that like shading pencil of it. I thought gave it its own unique charm. It was definitely rougher at the start of it, but it really, as it went along, I was like, man, I don't know if I'd want to see this manga in any other style. Like, I love the charm that brings to it.
I mean, it also felt very experimental. Like, it felt, especially as it continued, there were different reactions and faces and just like strange things that were so outside of everything else in the manga, but it just kind of felt like, you know, he was going, I'm just gonna do this.
Yeah.
Like, what are you gonna do about it? Like, when suddenly when people were shocked, they looked like weird old American cartoon characters. Like, I was like, where is this coming from? But, you know, you could just tell it was, like, something that he just wanted to do. And I was super cool with that. But, yeah, it took me a while to get into the art. I thought that maybe it was going to start off rough and then get, like, way, way cleaner. But, it pretty much was consistently a rough art style.
Yeah.
But, I was cool with it after a few chapters.
I've never thought that, like, Yoko's art style has ever been good from like an aesthetic standpoint. Like, he lacks a lot of just shimmer and shine.
Yeah.
I appreciate it because it shows how strong the story is always, though. The visuals are never distracting or never detracting from the subject matter at hand.
Right.
And I think that's both its strongest suit and its weakest part about it. Because whenever you have something like it's highly detailed, it's like Takahi Inoue, so you have something like Vagabond or something, it's easy to get too immersed in what's going on, like something like Gantz, for instance, and just the like visual like information overload, and just kind of miss everything that's kind of going on. Whereas in this is the exact opposite. You use your own kind of mind's eye to embellish everything because you know all of their thoughts, you know every kind of emotion that they're feeling, and it's that kind of like personification that brings the art kind of this new life that you don't see from a surface level. Because if you look at it from a surface level, if you take any given page, you're probably guaranteed to have some really odd looking backgrounds and some very odd proportions or potentially eye placement.
Very odd, like with hands holding cell phones to ears.
Oh my
Sometimes the
god, or
proportion of
holding
that-
cups. Their hands just looked so tiny holding
It
cups.
was like the opposite of yaoi hands. It was like Shada hands.
It was the literal opposite of yaoi hands.
It was Shada hands.
Everybody had tiny baby hands.
It was weird.
I mean, but do you feel like these distortions were intentional, or do you think it's just a lack of ability in the manga?
It was intentional. The thing about it is that if you look at his other work, so I'm very familiar with Takamura's Yokado's work. Yokota is like his newer stuff. That's actually published work. It is very clean. I think the most refined thing in all of his works though are his designs.
Yes.
His designs are very much they're very solid. But he treats them very malleably. He's not afraid to contort and stretch things to his pleasing to get across certain emotions or certain things with characters. And I feel like that's his strength, be it that this is intentional to be like this. I recommend that his more recent stuff, for instance, like if you really want something that's kind of like shows like his skill, you can always kind of look at the Battle Dead Dimension Destiny, I think is what it's called. It's a series that ran for like 8 volumes, but it's much cleaner than that because it was like he had like an assistant and stuff, and it was a serialized manga, so it's of course very streamlined feeling.
Yeah.
By contrast, where it's like a passion project, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he has one coming out in Shonen Jump in like
Yes.
a week or
Oh my
two.
God.
It's gonna be
Yes.
really interesting. I'm really excited about it.
Yes.
Somebody I wanted to touch on before we go into final thoughts and ratings. Nanospheres5 in the Twitch chat asked a question that I thought was really interesting. They asked, "Do you think that someone who hasn't read manga before would get the same thing out of this as someone who has read manga for a long time?"
I would say if you don't have a good handle on like otaku culture in general, you might not get the same out of it.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna miss out on a lot of the reference humor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of the reference humor, and I think it's also just if you're going what you're looking for in a manga too. Like this might be one that I would definitely recommend people read for sure later on, but maybe not as their first intro into manga.
No.
If I was to recommend someone, if you're really wanting to push forward the works of like Yokota, I would recommend starting with something more like Onani Master Kurosawa, because it's more akin to something. It's much more concrete in its story and less referential in that regard.
Yes.
It's still very referential.
I totally agree with that.
But it's not like if you don't get this, well, there goes that whole joke. Like it's much more physical humor rather than referential humor.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the big kind of difference. That said, I think it's very important to realize that like both stories I think could be shared with people, like especially if someone likes something like Catcher in the Rye, a novel that
Yes, that's true.
my mother loved to the point where she named me after Holden Caulfield. She absolutely loves Ononimasa Kurosawa, and I'm sure that she'll think of this no
I
differently.
love that. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, because it's so easy to kind of draw the parallels between stuff like like Holden Caulfield and how like these characters are, how they're just kind of these self-centered people who believe the world is kind of their enemy, I guess, and they ultimately come to just accept it and love the world that they're in.
Yeah.
So you know someone who likes stuff like Catcher in the Rye. I would say, again, not necessarily this is step one. This is like, you can get here eventually, but let's go down the steps really quick and start down here at
Maybe
Ononimasa
just
Kurosawa.
like, be a super weeb for just a little bit and then try reading it.
I want to know, if you, anybody watching this, if Masturbation Master was your first manga ever, I would love you to tweet at us and let us know. Because I really want to know.
Oh my God.
I hope so. That was like one of our highest viewed manga pods. Was
I'm
Masturbation.
sure.
I was like,
That
it made
name,
me
come on.
so happy because it was such a good manga. Like people had recommended me, but I never heard of otherwise before we started doing MangaPod. Like I'd never heard of it, and so I was so. It's one of my favorite manga of all time, and so it's just like more people need to read it. It made me so happy.
Well, yeah, I was going to shame chat because we had, a pretty consistent, 600 concurrent viewers for most of this MangaPod today. And I was like, it's because the word molester is in the title. I know it.
Yep, I was just thinking that. I was like,
I see you, chat.
Yes, we're on to you. We know. People in chat are just like, oh no.
Oh, God, I got to leave.
OTLs.
Despair.
Everybody just spam the OTL, man.
Dude, so much despair.
Just so much despair happens in the chat.
Utter prostration.
Oh my goodness. Awesome. Let's wrap up and give our final thoughts and ratings. Does anybody want to go first? I'm trying to think of a rating.
Me too.
That's always my problem. I never know what to rate.
I'll go first.
Yeah, hit it.
I love the stories. I love most of the characters. I had issue with misunderstanding. I just really didn't like her. There's just something about her I just really didn't like. There were some side characters that I feel got a little bit more attention, like Yamaoka, that then they really deserved. But I guess they were kind of presented to show, I guess, a basis for comparison between the main characters and everyone else that Molester was interacting with. The art, like I mentioned earlier, was a little rough at first. I grew to like it. I don't love it, but it's still all right. I would have to give it. I love the characters and story enough that I can give it a 9 comfortably. 9 out of 10.
Awesome. I think I would agree with a 9 out of 10. It took me a little bit to get into it, but I think it was a really creative story and I loved the realism of the characters and it being based off of a true story, a real in-depth thread where all of the text was already there. You could say oh, it's easy for him to make it into a manga, but it really isn't. The way the mangaka had to pace the text and show it visually to us in ways that wasn't just necessarily reading it. I thought it was really fascinating and it was really interesting, and I loved the development of the characters. And like Lou said, I cared about some more than I cared about others, but I loved that they weren't just these standard tropes that are really that we've seen throughout harem manga and anime. That they felt like genuine people, and that their actions, as frustrating as they were, felt really realistic. The art was pretty rough. It wasn't my favorite, but I thought it gave it a certain charm to the manga. And I think it's one that is a really sweet love story at the bare bones, a love story and a coming of age story that I think were presented really well and just overall fantastic. And so I think it's one that people really need to read and check out, and that it's definitely worth a 9 out of 10. It wasn't perfect for me. Like I said, there were some parts that were a little bit harder to get through, but I think it's still an amazing story.
Yeah, I was trying to decide if I wanted to give it an 8.5 or a 9, so I'm gonna pull an Aaron.
You're right. I didn't do an Aaron. You need to make up for me.
I
this
know. I'm gonna give it 8.74.
Beautiful.
Just to keep it weird. Yeah, this is, I mean, yet another one that surprised me in how the story went. I loved that it was another one like Densha Otoko, where it was based off of a forum. Like, it added, there were so many elements to it that felt like they were plucked from real life, and I know that that's why. So, I don't know. I just really enjoyed the tone of it. I enjoyed how realistic some of the characters' reactions were and things like that. And I also love that it was a story that was never published, and so there were things like Aizen's face just thrown in there for lols.
Yes.
Like, that was it was fun. It was fun for me. The referential stuff added to it for me. So yeah, 8.74.
I like your number.
Thank you.
I do too. As far as what I thought of it, I must say that this manga is something inexplicably special to me. It's a spiritual successor and predecessor to one of my favorite, or probably my favorite manga of all time, and the influence is very clear. If you liked Master Masturbation Kurosawa, this is by far a must-read. But this manga is special to me right now because I read it at a time that I could relate. It's not necessarily that I read both series, of course, when I was the proper age of each one, and so it gives you this whole weird surreal nature to it. But I could relate so much to the series on a personal level. I'm not saying I was mistaken as a molester yet, but rather the idea that chance encounters are the one thing in life that can change everything about you. It's the idea that one fateful meeting can lead to you experiencing love or the passion that you've never felt before. So just it's the idea that you should just go out and just take a chance, live life, and even fall in love. And you can do all of it. Mm-hmm. And you just need to be willing to see that chance and take advantage of it when it finally comes to you. And so with that said, I will be giving Shikan Otoko most likely what it looks like a 9.28 out of 10 and a stamp of Holden approves.
Yay!
So until next time.
Awesome. I like your number.
It's fantastic. It's tentative, but for MangaPod, I will stick with it for now.
Like it.
Awesome. Yes, so we all highly recommend that you go and check out this manga. It's way deeper than you're expecting a manga to be that's called Molester Man. It's fantastic. And also check out Masturbation Master if you have not.
Yeah, Masturbation Master is great.
So
fantastic.
Let's go ahead, and now what we are going to do is read. I will read the summary for the manga that we are reading next week. And then you all in chat get to guess it. Oh, it's a nice long one. Oh, I forgot how long this one is.
Enjoy.
We've read this manga question mark. I'll give a little hint on MangaPod before. So I think, let me make sure. I might have clicked on the wrong one now that I'm thinking about it. Nope, I was right. Okay. For 820 years, he has slumbered with no knowledge of mankind's advancement and scientific progress. The land which he once knew has become an unfamiliar place with new technology, attitudes, and lifestyles. Upon awakening, Cadiz Germa de Laziel, aka Ray, seeks to familiarize himself with this era. He locates a loyal servant of his, Frankenstein, who is currently the principal of a South Korean high school. Ray decides that this school is the perfect place to help him learn about the modern world, enrolls and begins associating with a group of good-natured students in order to blend in. But this new world is no safer than the old, and the dignified, bewildered, technologically inept Ray finds himself embroiled in adventures both ridiculous and dangerous.
Yeah, they already got it.
Sellout Ted got it.
Yay! Noblesse!
Yep.
Noblesse!
Noblesse!
Oh my gosh, I've been waiting. I'm so
Can I say
excited to
something?
read more of this.
In regards to this, I didn't read it when it was last on. So I have to read a total of 154 chapters by next Tuesday.
Oh, no.
It's gonna
I
fly by,
started-
Lou.
I started it yesterday. I'm on chapter 50. And I only have dedicated about maybe an hour and a half to reading it. So
It's so fast.
it goes quick.
It's a manhwa.
It's pretty good.
It's a manhwa. Have you read it?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, it's so good.
it's pretty sick.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's pretty hard to avoid it when it's like number one on like every kind of site that like hosts manga and manga.
Yeah.
Good.
It's yeah, so for all of you who are seeing the chapters that we're reading, which is chapters 79 through 154, if you think that sounds intimidating, it's going to go real quick because the chapters are the way they're formatted is really easy to read and get through.
You can just put it on auto scroll.
And it's just goes. Unlike, though, I will never forget the MangaPod viewers who told us that we could read 105 chapters of Tower of God in one sitting. I will never forgive you.
I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to that.
Do you have
because-
to?
Yeah. It's gonna be fun. Let's get that on the
Tower
next
of God goes by fast too, but there's a lot to soak in with Tower of God. Noblesse at least was, pretty straightforward.
Yes. Oh my god, Noblesse is so good. If y'all do want to see, if you missed the first MangaPod that we had on it, you can go to my channel and it's hosted on there, so you can see what we thought about the first 78 chapters of it. So let's go ahead and shout out our stuff really fast so that people in chat know where they can find us. I am Erin of HappiLeeErin. I have a YouTube channel where I do anime first impressions and anime reviews. I haven't really done anything recently, but I have some stuff planned. I know, I was just like, when you said that earlier, I was like, hey, Holden, I'm there with you. Yeah, I haven't done too much stuff recently, but I have some stuff planned and some free time coming up, so I'm excited to kick back into things. So you can find all of my stuff there. I also do mental health awareness videos, and all of the previous MangaPods are hosted there. If you'd like to find me on any social media site, I'm HappiLeeErin all across the everything. I mostly use Twitter and Instagram and ask.fm. So if you want to come and check me out, that's me.
Hi everybody, I'm Dodger. I have a YouTube channel called Press Hard to Continue where I do butt-touching games and gaming news and things like that. And also twitch.tv/dexterity bonus is where I do my streams, and on all the social medias, I'm at dexbonus, DEXBONUS. And I would love for you to come and hang out and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My name's Lou, and I'm from Sitting by the Window Anime Reviews, and I do anime-related content. You can find me at youtube.com/SBTW Anime Reviews, twitter.com/SBTW Anime Review, AskFM, link as well, same. All that stuff's the same. I recently uploaded a huge unboxing video. I did that while MangaPod was going, so that's why I was like typing at one point, because I had to like make a description. It was about $700 that I spent on Right Stuff. That was a mixture of anime and...
Lou!
I think I've done that once, and I got 2 box sets.
No, see,
Man.
I spread mine out a little bit. One thing, I'll spoil a little bit of the video. One thing I got was the first 5 hardcovers of Vinland Saga.
Yeah, Lou! Good choices.
I
The real
made
MVP.
Bakemonogatari, Arakawa Under the Bridge, both seasons, premium edition for the second one, and a bunch of other stuff. If you want to find out, go watch the video. It's on my channel.
Ooh.
That's called a tease.
That's good. You
Well,
did it
I'll be
right, Lou.
professional.
You did it right, Lou.
I'll have to relieve that tease and help you blow off some steam by checking out HoldenReviews. I do anime-related reviews and stuff. I do a lot of nonsensical live streams. If you want to find my channel, type in holden.reviews in any URL. Trust me, it's worth the $30 I spent for you to do it. Just do it. I wanna
I'm
make
trying it now.
It makes
Just
me
do it on
so
Blue
happy that
Market.
that's a
Pocket
thing.
reviews.
Just makes me so happy.
Holy shit, it works.
I know, right? This is like what $30 and like a GoDaddy account can get you. Try it, kids. It's amazing. If you would like to buy any .reviews, please contact me at HoldenReviews.com. Also, I bought HoldenReviews.com. It was buy one get one free. But yeah, so check out my stuff there. I'm also on Twitter. I respond to a lot. I'm a very approachable guy. If you have anything to say to me or like anything that you'd like to question or anything, feel free to ask me. I'm a very approachable person in that sense. I'm a man of the people, but not a man of the molesters. So I hope you enjoyed.
I'm not a man of the molesters. Holden 2015.
Keep doing the hand, man.
You do.
Like I am the molester, though.
You are the molester, man.
I am the molester, though.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, Holden. We loved having
Of course.
you.
Yeah,
It was
thanks,
such an
Holden.
honor to be here. I had an absolute blast.
Awesome. You'll have to come back for sure.
Of course.
Awesome. If you in chat would like to see any more MangaPod, get any more MangaPod nonsense, we have both a subreddit and a hummingbird. I posted the links in the chat if you're on YouTube, and the links are in the description down below. The subreddit is reddit.com/r/MangaPod. The hummingbird is hummingbird.me/group/mangapod-book-club.
That was awful.
You forgot. .reviews.
Reviews. Holden, help me.
Could.
Help me
I
with
could
my
sell it to
URLs.
you. You could hyperlink it.
Help me with my hyperlinks. But yes, you can find on the Reddit, you can find the schedule for all of our upcoming manga pods, as well as a request thread. And also, if you want to start any sort of discussions on either of those, we highly encourage it and would think it's awesome. Thank you all so much for joining us this week. We loved having you in chat, both on YouTube and Twitch. And if you are watching this on the YouTube VOD, thank you so much for watching. We will be here same time, same place, Tuesday night, 7:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, here on twitch.tv/dexterity bonus, as well as youtube.com/HappiLeeErin, talking about Noblesse, chapters 79 through 154.
So excited.
Thank you all so much, Holden. Thank you again for joining us. You are awesome, and we will see you guys next week. Bye-bye!
Bye-bye.
See you later.
Later.